Okay, welcome back. Now we're going to go into the most important part of the training. So listen up close, take notes, watch this video a couple of times because this skill, when you learn this, you are going to be able to generate sales just as good as the top 10% of salespeople in the world. This is going to be your key to helping people tap into their emotions and lead them towards a sale. And this is a skill that you can use in your hub business, outside the business, in anything in life. And this can really generate you hundreds of thousands of pounds in the future, as it has done for myself and James and Wendy and everybody else who's implemented this. So this is the pain phase of the conversation, finding their reason why. So to sum this point up, what we're trying to find out is, where is this person currently? What's their life situation? And what is it costing them to stay there? This is the question you need to answer, and they need to know as well, because that's what they don't think about. And this section will literally make or break the call. If you want to make a sale, you'll make the sale or you'll lose the sale in this part of the call, not at the end. Not if you don't handle sales objections. You will lose or make the sale here. I guarantee it. So it's critical that you dig deep to discover why the goal is truly important to them. This is the only way to take their focus away from how much is this program going to cost, to instead getting them thinking, how much is it going to cost for me to not do this? That's the key here, guys. This is how you become a master at selling. You take their logical focus away from how much money is this going to cost me, to getting them thinking emotionally of how much pain is it going to cost me to not do this? What's it going to cost me in terms of health, relationships, more medical bills in the future, illnesses? That's what you want to get them focused. And if you do this right, by doing exactly what we tell you here, then you'll find that your prospects will be almost begging to buy from you by the end. You will not have to hard sell because they'll be just clamoring to say, like, how do I get this? Right? So remember this, only when you find their real reason why are you able to close effectively. This is because you will always bring them back to this anchor later in the call. We call this the anchor. Knowing what their dream outcome is, or their biggest pain they're trying to get away from. What's the ultimate pivot point that why things need to change? This is the anchor, because if they raise any objections, sales objections later in the call, we don't need to defend that objection logically or combat it logically. Like, for example, if they say, well, it's a bit too much money, the logical way to attack that would be to say, well, how about I do you a discount or a special offer? No. You don't play the logic game. They'll try and make the objection logical. You bring it back to the emotional. And we just go back to what they said the anchor was. So, I mean, if they say that their anchor is they have to lose weight because they're afraid they're going to have a heart attack and die, then 2 minutes later, they're saying, well, I would do it, but, I work on those days. You don't talk about changing their work schedule. You bring the urgency back to saying that 10 minutes ago you were chatting about the fact that they might die of a heart attack if they don't get their health solved. And get them to the point where they go, oh yeah, crap, I need to sort my schedule out. If you do this effectively, guys, here's what you'll find. Do this effectively and the prospect will overcome their own sales objections. Okay? I'm going to write that down. If you do this properly, the prospect will overcome their own sales objections. Meaning, let's say their objection is they haven't got the money. They're a bit short for cash this month. If you get them emotionally charged enough and the anchor is so important to them, they will go and borrow money from a friend. They'll say, look, I haven't got the money for this, but please give me 2 hours. I'm going to go and ask my partner for it, or I'm going to get a cash advance from my boss. They'll find the money. If they say, oh my God, I want to do this, I need to do this, but I work on those hours, they're going to say, okay, don't worry about it. Sign me up. I'm going to talk to my boss and I'll beg him to change my hours. If they have childcare in the mornings, they can't do it because they have childcare. They will say, don't worry, sign me up. I need to have this. I just need to go and figure out childcare. They will overcome their own objection if they want it enough. If they don't want it enough, they will throw the sales objection at you, hoping that you can say something that will make them want it more. But again, if you're experiencing that, if they're putting sales objections on you and they're not overcoming them themselves, that means they don't want it enough, which means you either didn't tap into the pain enough to show them what they're actually getting, or you just didn't present the product well enough. So that was a mistake on your part in the sales call. So again, we want to bring them back to this anchor, okay? So quick tip here as well. When you first start asking questions about what they want to achieve, the prospect is first likely going to say that their problem is to do with fitness or something superficial, like I just need to lose 10 pounds or I want to add 5K of muscle, whatever. But you have to take the conversation deeper from the superficial physical level to the emotional level to discover why they want to do that. Why do they want to lose 10 pounds? Why does a guy want to get a bigger chest? Not for practical, logical purposes. It's for emotional reasons, right? And you'll find the emotional anchor when they begin to start turning the language towards the real issue, such as insecurities or lack of confidence in how they look, if they're having struggles in relationships or dating because of this, if they have a lack of energy and it's affecting other areas of their life. They're not having good time with kids or struggling at work, or if there's any fear or signals of serious health issues coming up or something that's been in their family, hereditary. When the conversation moves towards these things, now you know you're getting somewhere. But if you are only talking on the superficial level, logical, and then you move to present the program, they're just going to go and, quote, think about it. And they're not going to think about it at all. They've thought about it and they think it's not worth it. They're just being polite and telling you that. So the conversation must move away from the logical, I need to lose or gain X pounds, and it needs to become about the emotional reasons of how they're going to feel, how they feel right now, or a potential loss in their relationships, family, finances, or health. And again, failure to do this will make it incredibly difficult for them to truly want to take action now, and you're going to find it impossible to close the call or answer objections later if you don't get to the emotional. And this is where most salespeople mess up. Even people that learn this, they understand emotion is important to sales, but they still feel awkward or uncomfortable or think, I can't ask these kind of questions. They think they're stepping over the line. But I assure you guys, after doing this tens of thousands of times with trainers all over the world, right, and running the same system in other industries of sales, it's going to be totally fine. People like to talk about themselves. They like to go deeper. They're not going to have a problem with it. You're not crossing any line, especially when you ask the questions and you control the conversation in the way that we outline here by the psychological principles. So part one of the pain phase here is you just want to get a general profile and start to ask some questions about the person. Okay, so you start asking them just some logical questions because they're going to feel more comfortable starting with some logical questions. It gets them opening up. You don't want to start with the first question being, so great, why do you hate your life? You can't just jump into that, right? So you've got to start nice and logical, get them opening up. But we're also going to ask logical questions, but they're going to be relevant because they will give us an idea of if this person is qualified or not. Or it might give us an idea of some of the problems they might be facing. So you could ask, okay, that's great, John. So, or Jenny, let's use a female example. Okay, Jenny, great. So, can you tell me what's your age, please? 39, great. So if they say 39, immediately in your mind, you're going to know a 39-year-old woman has different pain points to a 19-year-old woman. The 39-year-old is going to be thinking more about hormones, menopause, thyroid issues perhaps, The reasons why she wants to get in shape might be more around personal empowerment. Maybe she's been recently divorced, for example, and she wants to finally do something for herself after raising kids. If you're talking to a 29-year-old or a 19-year-old, you're going to have a very different conversation. So even just the age can tell you a little bit about how this conversation is going to go. And the more experience you get talking to more prospects, the easier this is going to get. You can ask them, do you have an active job? Now, this is a good one to ask, because if you find out what job they have, that will tell you what kind of income bracket that they're in. If they say, I'm unemployed, okay, we might need to be careful here. If they say, well, I'm a professional lawyer and it's extremely demanding, then okay, good. So it's good to ask the job. We can see their activity levels, plus what kind of income bracket they might be in. Okay. Now we start asking about their current situation. Okay. So here we start asking now about their body, about their goals. So we're getting one level deeper right now. So, okay, thanks, Jenny. So can you tell me what's your current body weight last time you weighed? Right? And she'll say, 168 pounds or 70 kilos, right? Okay, great. And what is your goal body weight? Or is there another metric you want to track? Maybe they want to go by clothing size or bikini dress size, something like that. Probably goal weight for most people. But if they get stuck on that question, or they say, I don't really care about weight, then you can ask them, okay, great, well, we can do inch measurements, body fat, clothing size, what goal do you have? And it might just be a goal to look better, and they don't really care what weight they're at. Then you can ask them, how long has it been since you've been at that weight or less or that size? So if they say I want to lose 20 pounds and be a dress size 6, you can ask them, okay, how long has it been since you've been a dress size 6, if at all? If they haven't been, they'll tell you, I've never been that level. But if they have been there, that's very good, because it shows that they've had that desire, they know how good it feels. Something happened where they came away from it, they let themselves go, maybe a pregnancy or a relationship or an end of a relationship or COVID or whatever it might be. And that's good, because that gives you talking points then. If they say, well, last time I was a size 6, it was probably 10 years ago. And then you can ask about that and follow up and say, okay, great, so what is it that's relevant about that size or that weight? And they might say, well, that was my wedding dress, actually. Or I remember the last time I had a holiday where I felt comfortable was I went to Tenerife. I was a size 6. I looked amazing in my bikini. Guys were looking at me. Since then, I gained the weight and I haven't felt confident wearing a bikini since then. Okay, then you start asking, okay, why? What do you think? Why did your dress size go up? Would you say, was it an event or something that led to the start of your weight increase? So we can find what the trigger point was. There's so many things you can get into if you just ask these questions. So again, what do you think are the main reasons for the weight gain since then? Did anything trigger it? Okay. If they've never been at that goal before, then you can just ask them, okay, what do you think has been the biggest thing stopping you reaching this goal? So if you're a size 10, you're 90 kilos now, and you want to be 70 kilos, you know that, right? You know you're at point A, and you know you want to be at point B. What stopped you getting there? Just out of interest, why are you not there yet? Now we're going to find out what they need. What's the thing missing that if they had that thing, they could get to us. They could lose 20 kilos, and that thing is going to be something that we're offering. Either a coach, accountability, a social support group, the right program. It's going to be, or just motivation. It's going to be something that we have, but we need to know what it is in their mind. What do they think has stopped is what they need. Then we can ask them, what have they tried before? So we want to get an idea of their past exercise history. What have you already tried to fix this? They might say nothing, okay? But if they do say something like, I've been to a gym or I've done a program, that's good, because it shows that they actually have tried before. And then you can find out, why that didn't work. You can also ask, have you followed any, if they say they just tried a gym or something, you could ask, well, You want to know, have they tried anything similar to what we do, or have they tried personal training? Because we're looking for people who are at the personal training level because we're a premium provider. And if they've done personal training or similar boot camps, that's good because it shows that they're in that income bracket. They're okay paying for that level of service. But we will have to ask, if they have paid for PT or group coaching before, we will have to ask, why are they not doing it anymore? Because it didn't work for them, obviously. So we need to clarify why it didn't work for them so that we can position ourselves as being different. So you can ask them like, so have you followed any professionally designed nutrition or exercise programs, or have you worked with a personal trainer, or anything like that at a high level to get results? Or have they just gone to a gym, tried to figure out on their own, etc.? That's an important distinction to make because that's one of the realizations the prospect will have. They think they've tried everything, but if you ask them, you find out more. What you realize is they've tried everything on their own. They tried the gym on their own. They tried a YouTube workout on their own. They tried an online thing on their own. They never actually worked with a professional or had a specifically designed program to follow. And that's obviously why they didn't get results. So that's a talking point right there. We don't want to sell ourselves at this point. You don't want to start selling and saying why that stuff is rubbish and our stuff is better. You just want to point out to them that if they say they've just gone to the gym a few times and tried to figure it out, I would ask them, so have you, okay, I understand you've been to a gym and you've done this, but have you actually worked with a professional to solve this problem? Like if you want to lose 20 kilos, have you actually hired a coach or gained a personalized program? Because obviously that's going to be the fastest way and really the only way to get the results. It's like if someone said that they wanted to learn to drive a car, and you ask them, well, have you had driving lessons? And they go, no, I've jumped in a car and I've tried to figure out the buttons on my own, but it didn't work. You'd say, well, have you worked with a driving instructor? Because that's what you need to do, right? Of course it didn't work if you try to do it on your own, without a plan, without motivation or accountability. Of course it's going to fail. And if you keep trying to do that, you're going to keep failing, no? So really the key here, what seems like you've been missing, is actually working with a professional, with a program that's right for you, and having the accountability to stick with it. Is that right? And they go, yeah, that would actually be really good. So you've got to identify that pattern quickly as well, so they can immediately see that what we're doing is very different. This is not like just joining a commercial gym. So you can ask them if they did any personal training in the past or they did a gym. Let's get their perspective. Okay, you did 12 sessions of PT. Okay, great. So how did that work out for you? Are you still following it now? Or you're doing Weight Watchers. Great. How did Weight Watchers work for you? They might say, oh, Weight Watchers did great. I lost 4 kilos. Great. Are you still following it now? Probably not, right? No, I'm not. Okay, why not? And here's where they are going to tell us why the other methods are not sustainable. It just felt a bit restrictive. I didn't, as soon as I came off the plan, I gained weight again. You could ask, did it feel like you could follow it for the rest of your life? Was it sustainable for you? Was it convenient for you? No. So you're not saying Weight Watchers is bad or personal training is bad. You don't say anything bad about other products. We don't do that. We don't slag anybody off despite your personal opinions. They're okay to have those opinions of these things, but if you start telling the prospect that, you're going to look bitter and you're going to lose trust. We get them to tell us, even if they got results with it, why are they still not following it now? Or if they are still following it now, if they say, yeah, I'm still going to Weight Watchers, okay, great. So why are you reaching out to us? There must be something you're not happy with, or maybe you're looking for more than what they provide. As in, what do you feel that what else you're looking for that it doesn't give you? We have to find out what is the deficit with what they're doing or they've tried in the past. And again, don't say anything negative. Now we're going to find that anchor, okay? Now we have an idea of where they are, what they've tried. Now we need to find out the deeper emotional reason why. Okay, so we say, okay, great. Let's talk about why this goal is important to you. So what attracted you to the 6-week or 4-week challenge? Okay, now depending on how they answer, you might not need to ask all these questions. It depends. If they give you a really good detailed response, they'll answer a lot of questions in one go. But if they only give you more shorter answers, if they're a bit guarded, I've just put more questions that you can keep hitting them with to get the information that you need. So again, this is where you'll have to every call is going to be a little bit different, but these are the kind of questions you want to be asking. And again, with practice, this will become natural. This will become second nature to you. So, okay, I start with a very broad question it's an open question that allows them to say what they want. What attracted you to this? I'd be as broad as possible and see what they say. Now you're looking for, when they listen to what they say, and try and find as many conversation threads as you can. They might mention their problems in relationships. They might mention they're stressed. They might mention there was illness. Their parents had illness, right? They might mention not feeling like the best role model for the kids. Listen to what they say, because we can latch on to these points that they mention, and then we can go deeper and work on that. So you could also ask them, why exactly is it important for you to change from where you are now to where you want to be? And then I want to know, why is it important to make this change now? What's the trigger now? This is one of those questions that I said earlier. You're getting specific information that's going to help you overcome objections later. So if they say, why now? And they say, because I've got a wedding coming up, because my summer holiday is coming in 6 weeks, I need to look good on the beach, or because I've had a health scare in the family, my doctors told me I need to lose weight, or I could have a problem, right? You need to remember that, because again, later, if they then say they want to think about it, you draw them back to this and say, well, earlier you can think about it, but earlier on you said you've struggled with this. You said you've struggled with this. It's been 5 years since you were at that point, and you said you told me you need to do this now because you have a holiday coming up. So really, what is it to think about? It seems like you've been thinking about this for 5 years. You see, that's how you can kind of use what they said to tackle their objection. That's just one example there. So that's a really important question. Why now? And you also want to be kind of mildly skeptical. This is you interviewing this person. Don't forget that. This is not about them asking why should they give us their money. No. This is us asking them, why should we trust them as a client who is going to get results, be committed, and uphold our reputation? Because we don't need that one person. If they sign up to this program, it won't change our life, but it will change theirs. And that's the frame you have to remember, without being arrogant about it. The fact is, they need us more than we need that individual person. So you're interviewing them, essentially. Because when someone says to me, oh, hey, Justin, yeah, I'm sick of being this weight. I think I'm going to make a lifestyle transformation. I'm going to eat all the foods I've avoided. I'm going to start going to the gym 5 times a week. I'm going to start weighing myself every week. I'm skeptical. I'm not like, yeah, bro, go for it. I'm thinking, are you really, though? And if you ask yourself honestly, the last time you had a prospect or a friend or someone that said that to you, you were probably skeptical as well, because this is a transformation that very few people actually have the commitment to go through. So I would almost be skeptical of these people, and I'm also, in these questions, I'm actually challenging them, because I want them to convince me that they're going to be committed and going to be a good prospect. And if they convince me through their emotion and their heart and their commitment, I am going to award them the chance to get a spot on my next intake. I'm awarding it to them if they convince me in this interview. And you need to think about the interview frame like that. So I'm not just asking a clever question here. I'm really wanting to know, why is this important for you now? Like, why didn't you? We've been running this challenge for 2 years. Why didn't you sign up 2 years ago? Did you see our adverts? Okay, why not a month ago? Why not yesterday? Why today? Right? So if they're stumbling and don't know how to answer that, then you can guide them. Okay, and you can relate it to what other women have said. If they're like, well, I'm not sure really, I know it's just important and I should do something. Well, you could say, well, for example, what I'm asking is this about your health? Is it about your self-confidence? What's your bigger reason why? No one wants to lose 20 pounds just to be lighter. They don't want to lose, mass just for the sake of their volume, right? So, what's the reason? Is it to do with your health? Is it to do with self-confidence, your energy? Do you want to fit back into your clothes? I mean, for example, most of the women we speak to, they tell us it was about getting their confidence back and they feel sexier and more attractive getting back into their clothes, and it helps them get deeper connection back with their partners or helps them get a relationship. Could it be any of those things for you? And so then some people will actually start opening up, because sometimes people, especially in the UK, we're more reserved, we're more prudent. They might not feel it's appropriate. They might think like, yeah, I want to do this because I feel shit about myself, but they might not feel it's appropriate to tell you that. So if you just guide them, if they're not giving you any good answers, you can just guide them a little bit with a nudge, and you're letting them know that, no, it's totally okay. Women tell us this all the time. Bring up relationships, bring up insecurity, bring up shame and how they feel, and sexiness and attractiveness, and bring up insecurity about looks. And when you do that, it gives them permission to go, oh, okay, I guess I can tell this person about that then. Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, I would feel better if I was a size 6 or whatever. So sometimes it's just giving them that permission and they'll open up to you. And we need to do this to get the conversation going forward. And then again, when they start going into a talk, do not interrupt them. The more they say, the more they tell, the more you'll sell. Right? The more they say, the more they're going to buy. They will talk themselves into a sale. And the more they talk, the more points, the more emotional buzzwords you can find, the more conversation threads you'll find. They'll drop clues that you can pick up on and take the conversation in different directions. So don't try and step in, don't try and coach them, don't try and teach them anything, right? You're not a lecturer, let them talk. So they mentioned self-confidence, right? Okay, great. So just going back, you mentioned self-confidence there. Can you tell me more about that? Like, what exactly would that mean for you? How would you know, so you could ask them, for example, at what times right now, what situations do you not feel confident in yourself? All right, that's a good one. Actually, I'll add that in there. So, because self-confidence is going to be an area-specific thing. They might feel very confident when they're at work, being a boss, but they might feel insecure or unconfident when they're alone on weekends or when they have to put a bikini on, right? So, in what situations or what times do you feel that lack of self-confidence, right? If they've mentioned that, they've mentioned self-confidence is an issue sometimes, let's get specific on it. Get specific. Okay, so in what situations do you feel that lack of self-confidence? And again, if they have trouble telling you, you can guide them again by saying what other women or men have said. If they're like, well, I'm not really sure, really. I mean, I feel okay most of the time, but you can say, well, okay, Jenny, that's okay. So, for example, what most women tell us at this point is a lot of women, for example, they feel great when they're at work, when they run their own businesses, but then when they're wearing a suit. But when it comes to putting a bikini on or going on a date, that's when they get a bit insecure. So, what areas of your life do you feel? Do you know you feel lack of self-confidence? Right? So you want to get specific so they can visualize these areas of their life, these times in the week where they really feel like crap, because that's what we can work on changing for them. So imagine they never had to feel lonely, or they didn't have to feel like a whale when they put a bikini on. If they could feel sexy and attractive and confident, that is what they'll happily pay £150 for, right? These women and men will happily pay £150 just to have the feeling of looking sexy in swimwear. You have to just move the conversation to that point instead of trying to sell a diet plan or trying to sell the fact that they get 18 workouts. That's irrelevant. So again, if you don't uncover the deeper emotional reasons for change, you will have objections and it'll stay logical and you will have a failed call. You must uncover the negative emotions that drive them to want to change. And the pain of staying the same must appear more costly to them or more painful than the investment of doing the program. Okay? So you can also ask them then, okay, what would be your most ideal result or outcome you'd love to achieve in 6 weeks from today? Now we start making it real for them. So like in 6 weeks from now, if they say like, I clicked on your advert because it said I could lose 20 pounds and drop a dress size, lose a stone. You say, great, yeah, definitely. You know, we've seen many women in your situation and we can definitely turn this around quickly. You can turn this around in 6 weeks from now, you can be 20 pounds lighter. How would that feel? Right? Okay. Or you could ask, what would have to happen or what result would you need to get to make this challenge totally worth it for you? This is an extremely good question because now we're asking, what would make it worth it? And if they say, man, if I could lose 20 pounds, it would be the best thing ever. So now we know if they lose 20 pounds, it's worth it to them. They should be able to pay the money for it. Otherwise, if they said it'd be worth it, if I could lose 20 pounds, that'd be amazing. And then later they give you a price objection and say they can't afford it, or they don't want to pay, what they're saying then is essentially, you link back to this anchor and say, well, earlier you said it'd be worth it if the program would be completely worth it if you lost 20 pounds. Now, you definitely will lose 20 pounds if you follow our program like all these clients have done. So now you're saying, you don't want to pay for it. So are you saying that you losing 20 pounds and getting your confidence back and feeling amazing on the beach this summer, that's not worth £147 to you? Is your self-confidence and how you feel not worth it to you? Is that not worth the money to you? Do you not feel you're worth investing that much in yourself? You see, it takes the not worth it, or takes the price objection away from the value of our product, and instead we reflect it back on them and say that you're saying that you're not worth the investment. Your confidence, your happiness is not worth 147. And that they can't argue with. Now you can ask them again to kind of visualize, what would your life look like when you solve this problem or when you achieve that goal? And if they've already told you earlier about a particular situation, like it's when they feel insecure on the beach in a bikini, you could reference that here and say, well, so what would it feel like? What would life be like if this summer, in 8 weeks from now, you can go on that holiday, you're going to go on that holiday, you're going to be 20 pounds lighter, you're going to be a size 8 dress, and you're going to feel confident and secure, and you're going to enjoy your holiday in a sexy bikini. How's that going to feel? Right? And get them to really tap into that so they emotionally desire it. You could also ask them, what would you do if you achieve, when you achieve this result and you change your body and change your confidence, what would you do differently that you don't feel able or comfortable doing now? For example, sunbathing on the beach in a revealing bikini, wearing sexy black dress when you go out to work, having sex with the lights on with your partner. Could be that, right? Ask them, what would they do differently? Would they go to more social events and take more photos with their friends? Because now they don't feel like the fat friend. Ask them to tell you, what would they physically do differently in different life situations that they don't feel they're able to do or they're not confident to do right now? And then you can ask them, will you doing this program help anyone else? So this is gets them really thinking about the broader impact. Okay, if they're unsure, you can guide them towards, well, if they say, what do you mean? You say, well, if you achieve this outcome, would you think that would have an impact on your kids? Or have an impact on your relationship? Or would it, if you had more energy and you were more focused, productive, energetic, would that help you at work? Right? And they can tell you, oh, yeah, I'd be a better role model to my kids. They would have better habits. Oh, so, and then again, stack on top of that, okay? Don't just take their answer, go deeper into it. Make them realize the clarity of this. So if they said, for example, yeah, if I lost that weight and got better eating habits, I think it would be better, my kids would get better habits. So then you follow up and say, oh, okay, so what you're saying is if you do this program and you get these results, it's gonna help your kids be healthier and have a better life. Now, if they say later they can't afford it, or it's they don't want to pay for it, now you can also anchor against the kids and say, well, earlier you said that doing this would help your kids be healthier and have a better life. Are you saying that that's not worth the investment now? Like, you see, guys, you should see by now that when we really open this up and look at really what's on the line, what they really get from this program, if they follow the steps, it's a steal for 150 quid. It's an absolute bargain. Our program is worth 10 times that. So even in your mind, this is why your mindset and your frame is so important, because if your mindset coming into this call is that you're just trying to sell a workout program and a diet plan for 150 quid, you're not going to make any sales. You have to embody this, and you will. After you do so many calls, you'll start to, and you'll see in 6 weeks' time, the people that you signed up, they change their life. All this stuff you talked about with them becomes a reality, and you're going to be more inspired to talk to the next batch of phone calls. Because you've seen it, you've seen that the person you're talking to now is going to have a radically different life in 6 weeks if you can just get them to see the bigger picture and the emotional depth of this, of what it's really worth. Right? And so that's why these questions are so important, and why you have to know what the true value of the program is. You have to know in your bones that this is an absolute steal for £149. And if you know that, and then you can help the prospect come to that conclusion, you're going to make more sales. Okay, then part 5 of the pain is we want to identify the cost of them not taking action. So you could, and also test their commitment, right? So let's guide them to have a look at what would happen in their life if they don't do this. So this is where we get them thinking that it's going to cost them more to not do the program, or it's more painful to not pay the £150 today versus just paying the £150 and making a change. So you can ask, okay, you mentioned it's been 5 years since you've been at the goal weight. So if you stay on the same path, doing the same things right now, how do you think your whatever will be in another 5 years from now? And then use something specific here that they talked about, the pain point they talked about. If they mentioned they had health issues, they've had some health issues building up over the last 5 years, they've got diabetes or whatever, use that, right? Or back pain. You can use that and say, okay, so if you don't do anything different now and don't fix that back pain, get the right functional exercise to fix that back pain, or you don't get the right nutrition to reverse the pre-diabetes, how do you think that condition is going to be in another 5 years from now? Is it going to be the same, better, or worse? Right? And they're going to say, well, it's probably going to be worse, I imagine. And you say, okay, and are you willing to accept that? This is a very powerful question because no one's ever asked them it before, but it's totally fair. Are you willing to accept that? Or if it's weight, if you've gained, it's been 5 years, you've gained 10 kilos in 5 years. So if another 5 years go by and you keep living life exactly as you are now, is it fair to say you might add another 5 kilos? Well, yeah, I'll definitely probably gain more weight. Or I'll stick at the same weight, but I'll still be unhappy. Okay, and are you willing to accept that? Are you willing to tolerate that? And they're going to say, well, no, I don't want to. And you follow up with, okay, why not? Again, guys, we have no judgment here. This is not a judging question. It's totally unbiased. Are they willing to accept it? They say no. Then ask them to justify, explain, prove it to you. Why not? Get them to really clarify it because they're in denial. And for the first time, someone is actually in a friendly but firm way calling them on their BS. This is why this call is so powerful for them. It's going to move them over the line. And they go, well, yeah, I can't, I mean, it's my health at risk. It's going to impact my family, my kids. Yeah, I just can't tolerate it. You see how much ammunition that you get as a salesperson now if they try and give you some lame sales objection later on? This is why, after we've come to this point, when we've crossed from a logical to an emotional threshold, there's no think about it at the end. What is there to think about? Right? They've come so far into looking at reality, making a decision is going to be easy at this point. And then part 6, this is where we remind them again, or they'll remind themselves why they can't do this on their own. And this takes away another objection. So we say, realistically then, given everything we've talked about so far, do you believe you're going to achieve these goals on your own? Let's change that slightly. You're going to achieve these goals on your own? Or do you know that you need some help? I mean, there's only one answer to that, right? So you said you want to lose 10 kilos, but you've spent 5 years being overweight, and you've gained more weight. So you've told me what you want and why it's important. Do you believe you're going to do this if you're left on your own to do it? No. Okay, no, probably not. Okay, why do you say that? Again, justify, explain, be specific, tell me more. Why do you say that? Because we're not judging, right? If they say yes, I think I can. Great. Why do you say that? You know, these are not manipulative questions. We're not putting words in their mouth. Okay, we want them to get specific because the more they say, they'll talk themselves into the sale. So that's the pain phase, guys. This is why this video was a bit longer, because this is literally the formula. Get this part right, guys, and you will be able to sell amazingly well. Add that to the tonality, to that, and add the mindset, as I talked about, the vocal tonality of leading, of being confident in your questions, knowing that they can't wriggle around the questions. You're not going to move on, or you're not going to talk about anything else. You're not going to answer their questions until they've told you yours. That's why you can only ask these questions if you've taken the leadership frame through your tonality and setting the agenda for them. Then it's the mindset. You have to know how much this program is worth and how much it's going to have a massive impact on their life. And you have to believe that the program is worth 10 times more than what we're asking. It is a steal. It's a bargain of what they're getting. A life change. It's saving their life for 150 quid. Right? They spend 5 times more than that on a phone. So don't tell me you guys can't make these sales. Right? You will when you do it this way. So again, guys, review this as much as possible. Practice it. Practice with a person you know, with your partner, or jump on the phone. If you want to jump on the phone with myself, I'll happily jump on and do sales training. If you want to do this and you want to role play back and forth and practice, I will happily get on the phone on Zoom with you, and we can do this as much as you like, because I want to see you guys succeed. Okay? If you want to record your calls as you do them and send the recording to me, I will analyze your vocal tonality. I will analyze your guiding leadership and your frame control. And I will analyze your intuition for asking better questions and working off the answers they give you. Please take advantage of this. I'm here for you guys to get on the call and record and listen to your calls and give you direct feedback that could increase your sales conversions by 10, 20, or 30%. which could add literally thousands of pounds extra to you every year. So stay tuned for the next video. That's the biggest part done and what takes the longest. Next, we're going to wrap up the call by presenting the package, taking the sale, and how to answer any objections.